Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! On the My Channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue, think, and slate, dropping unrealistic man. 2K takes for the kick. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, flip on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals that fill the day. Good morning, folks. It is Friday. We're hours away from the injury report being finalized for Week 12, and we're just 2 days away from a little over 48 hours to be exact. A little bit closer to, say, around 52, a little under 53 hours away from kickoff for the Philadelphia Eagles-Dallas Cowboys Week 12 matchup at AT&T Stadium. Our second battle versus the Cowboys this season. The first one went down Week 1. When we lifted the banner, we ended up winning 24-20, where all the points were scored in the first half. And we had the infamous weather delay, which caused the game to be delayed for a while. Long story short, when it was all said and done, the Eagles came out victorious in what ended up being an offensive shootout in the first half and a basically offensive non-existence in the second half. But that was week 1. We got the first win against them. Now we play against them in week 12, the rematch, the second battle of the year. And going into this one, we enter week 12, the 3.5-point favorites in this one, which obviously were the favorites. We're currently standing at 9. We're currently standing at 8-2 headed into this one. Dallas Cowboys stand at 4-1. Is it? Yep. And they're fresh off a Monday night win against the Raiders, where their defense had their best performance of the season, but that's also against the Raiders, a team who can't get anything going on offense. So the 4-5-1 Cowboys won 33-16 against the Raiders. We saw in that contest, the Cowboys defense ended up getting 4 sacks on Geno Smith. They ended up shutting down the Raiders run game to only 27 yards for the game total, which is a bit odd and a bit out of character for this year's Dallas Cowboys defense, because we've seen their defense getting cooked. Week after week 3, we saw them week 3 get cooked by the Chicago Bears. We saw them just absolutely decimated against, we saw them decimated there against them. We saw them get absolutely destroyed by the Denver Broncos, who had their best offensive performance of the season against the Cowboys. And we also saw they almost got beat by a Russell Wilson-led Giants in week 2 in a game that came to overtime. So it's been very interesting story as far as the season goes. Now, the Dallas Cowboys defense has been a much different story this year. They've given up a total of 293 points total for the season, and they haven't had a very efficient season, whereas on the other hand, our defense, we get up 201 points for the season, but here's the difference. Recent weeks, our defense has been phenomenal. We've been lights out, getting to people left and right. Jordan Davis was named Week 11 NFC Defensive Player of the Week for Week 11. So that Jordan Davis is fresh off another game. We saw he got a couple batted passes, including one where he batted a pass that led to the Cooper DeJean pick early in the game against the Detroit Lions. Point is, this defense has been coming on strong the past. We've only allowed a total of 12 since the bye week. We've played 2 games against the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions, both in prime time. And in those 2 contests, we saw the offense score a total of 26 points combined, 16 on Sunday, and then the week before that, only 10 against the Packers. But our defense has only allowed a combined 12 points in the 2 games. 9 against the Lions and only 3 against the Packers. So, or 7. No, wait, that's 10. No, it's 10-7. So I stand corrected. So we gave up 15 points total of 26 scored in those 2 games. So that's a bit of a sign the defense ain't playing that great. But Jordan Davis, though, he had himself an excellent performance. This is the second time this season Jordan Davis has been named an NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He did it week 3 against the Rams when he had a sack and a blocked field goal at the end that he ran back for a touchdown so that basically put the icing on the cake on a victory against us. And ultimately, we ended, so hey, Jordan Davis has been playing excellent. He's been balling out. We've seen Jalen Carter continues to ball out. The difference between the last time we played the Cowboys and this time is, this time around, we should have Jalen Carter on the field. We remember last time, week 1, after the kickoff, before the opening snap, there was some words exchanged between him and Dak. Jordan Davis spit at the ground. Not Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter spit at the ground, and he was ejected from the game. But this time around, Jalen Carter should be in the game. As long as he doesn't do anything stupid, and as long as he stays healthy for 4 quarters, Jalen Carter should be available for us. And we've seen, and looking back now, but it's also interesting to revisit our first matchup too, because we can look back on it. It's now week 12. There's been 11 weeks that have passed in between the two games, so we got a strong sample size to back off of when comparing the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Since then, Jalen Carter has been the difference maker for this defensive line. We've seen how different. The Eagles look like two completely different teams with Jalen Carter on the field when he's not versus him not being on the field. We saw against the Giants the first go-around at MetLife on that Thursday night game. We didn't have any Jalen Carter. Our offense had nothing going at all. But then, fortunately, when he does play, like the rematch against the Giants, we've seen these past couple weeks against the Lions and Packers where our offense didn't really get much going. We did stop him to 16 combined points in those two games. Jalen Carter's been a difference maker in those two matchups, holding both the Packers and Lions respectively to under 10 points. So this time around, as long as Jalen Carter stays healthy, as long as he doesn't do anything foolish before a snap, he should be available to play for us this time. Because remember last time we didn't have Jalen Carter. Dak Prescott, he was looking phenomenal, though. But to be fair, the offense has done pretty solid, too. Dallas Cowboys have had 2,587 passing yards on the season, as well as 1,200 rushing yards on the season. You got Javonte Williams. He's been doing pretty good, and he actually did pretty good against us last time, too. I mean, because that first half, the Cowboys were they were playing lights out the first half against us on offense. It was our offense going down the field, balling out that stopped them. But unfortunately, now the offense hasn't been playing as great in the game since then. We haven't had a strong offensive performance in these past 2 weeks. Since the bye, the last game we had offensively where we looked strong was against the Giants. And not to mention Saquon Barkley. I don't know if it's the Madden curse leading to inefficient performance, but he's not playing up standard that he was last year. With Saquon, it's one of those things this year where you give him the ball 20 times. Yeah, he'll have decent stats and it'll help break the game open. Well, he'll help us out on offense, but he's not dominating like he was last year. But this year, we see the one thing with this battle is the offense. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen. Are we going to see the same offense that we saw week 11 against the Detroit Lions and then week 10 against the Green Bay Packers? Or are we going to see the offense? They're going to see the offense that decimated the New York Giants in the rematch in week 9. Are we going to see the offense that dominated the Minnesota Vikings in week 8? And knowing that the Dallas Cowboys have defensively struggled, that could be a golden opportunity to do so. So let's take a look at the Cowboys schedule real quick so we can see how many points they've given up. So let's take a look in one moment. I'm going to take a look at the Cowboys offense real quickly. And I'll share the screen with you guys. So we'll go ahead and do a game by game. And I'll get to the point in a minute. So we scored 24 against them week 1. Gave up 37 in that game, like I said, with Russell Wilson quarterback New York Giants, not a Jackson Dart led. And let's take a look. You even see passing yards. Russell Wilson had 450 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against that Dallas Cowboys defense. Russell Wilson had himself a throwback game. And then the following week, week 3 against the Bears, I mentioned that one. They got cooked. They gave up 31, I repeat, 31 points. Then in the tie, week 4 against the Green Bay Packers, they gave up 40 points. Against the Jets, they gave up 22. They gave up 30 to the Panthers, 22 to the Commanders, down their starting court, down Jaden Daniels. And then you saw 44 against the Broncos, gave the Broncos their best offensive performance of the season. 27 against the Cardinals with Jacoby Brissett, mind you, against a struggling Cardinals team that's only got 3 wins on the season. The other 2 wins being in ugly fashion against the Carolina Panthers and in ugly fashion against the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints, we know, are tank bowl contenders. The Panthers are kind of an up and down roller coaster team from week to week. And then they managed to hold the Raiders in check, but at the same time, Let's be real. That's the Geno Smith-led Raiders that's been abysmal all season. Geno Smith's proven to be the decade's worst quarterback pickup for a team. So the Dallas Cowboys defense has struggled this season. They don't look the same without Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons now in Green Bay, balling out, helping that Packers defense. Their offense is a whole different story, but that's about for another story for another time. We're not talking about the Packers here. So there's that concern right there. And then you also have, as well as that, you also have even Eric Kendricks, who was one of the better pieces from last year. They've also lost DeMarcus Lawrence to Seattle. And you see Seattle's one of the best defenses in the NFL. Kind of crazy how that karma came back to bite the Cowboys. They lost the heart and soul of their defense. First, Micah Parsons, the best player. He's in Green Bay. Green Bay has one of the better defenses in the league. They lost the heart and soul from leadership standpoint in DeMarcus Lawrence. And where is he at? Seattle. Seattle is one of the best defenses in the NFL. They even kept the Rams, who are one of the best offenses, to only 19 points. Now, so you see, though, while DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons have had impact in their post-Dallas Cowboys endeavors this season. But the Cowboys defense has done a complete 180. They haven't gotten everything together. They consistently struggle. So this should be a favorable matchup for us going against this Dallas Cowboys defense. So we should have some luck go in our favor there. Even though our offense hasn't been that great, but that's part of the problem too. Kevin Patullo has had predictable play calling. In some of the plays he's just drawing up don't even make sense. They're just pass happy approach. In Saquon Barkley, they're way too predictable with him. Run up the middle, run in the middle, run in the middle, run in the middle. 3-yard gain, 2-yard gain, 1-yard loss. Back to the line of scrimmage. Next run, 3-yard loss. It's just a very predictable. And plus, this has done this with an Eagles offensive line that's been a bit shorthanded recently. And speaking of shorthanded, Lane Johnson is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, this being the first of that stretch, meaning that he's going to be out possibly in close to around Christmas or out the remainder of the regular season. So there's that problem to worry about right there. So now you got to rely on Fred Johnson, though, to take the keys to hold them in check. But fortunately, we're in a better situation. Last week, we were going against Detroit Lions, one of the better defenses in the NFL. Headed into that matchup in Week 11, the Lions had 30 sacks. So we were playing against one of the top defenses. That's not an excuse for only scoring 16 points and not being able to move the ball. That's not an excuse at all. I'm still putting the blame on Kevin Patullo. I'm not backtracking on anything I said about the man and the fact that he's unqualified to play call. I'm not saying. And then we played against the Packers, who also have one of the best defenses. Now, going against the Cowboys, you're hoping this will at least help the offense shine a little bit. Because you're not facing the opposition you're facing in this one on the offensive side of the ball is not as tough. And that should play out in your favor. So that's one potential advantage right there that could work out for us. So hopefully, we're able to turn this thing around, get it together on the offensive side of the ball. Because the last couple of weeks, we've been playing horrible. We've had to rely on our defense to bail us out. And the thing is, you can't consistently rely on the defense to bail you out. You can't. You can't consistently rely on Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Zach Bond, Jalix Hunt, Jahad Campbell. You can't consistently rely on Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. Let's not forget, it's Jalen Phillips, the latest addition. Jalen Phillips has fit in perfectly with Vic Fangio. These last couple games, he's been one of the bright spots of this Eagles defense. Let's take a look. 1 minute, we're going to take a look at his game-by-game stats. The last 2 games he's played, both for the Philadelphia Eagles. So everything here on down, that's him with the Dolphins. But let's take a look with the Eagles. November 10th, the Monday night game against the Packers, Week 10. He had a total of 6 tackles. He had 6 combined tackles. Last week, he had 5 against the Lions, including a sack. So Jalen Phillips, in just 2 games with the Philadelphia Eagles, has had a combined 11 tackles and a sack. He's immediately made a difference for this team. He's fit in perfectly with Vic Fangio. That's why Jalen Phillips was the perfect pickup for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. You're talking about a guy, like you said, that's it, 11 tackles in 2 games. He came in right off the bat. He didn't need to get squeezed into the rotation. He didn't need a week to get used to playing in the game with them. He had a week of practice during the bye week, but as far as actual in-game experience, look, he connected right away. He was in Miami with Vic Fangio, his former defensive coordinator from Miami. That's why he was the perfect pickup for us. He knew Vic Fangio's style. Fangio knew how to use him, and he's done a phenomenal job in utilizing him through 2 games thus far to go along with the guys like the Jalen Carters, the Jordan Davises, the Jihad Campbells, Zach Bonds of the team. This Eagles defense is cooking on all cylinders right now. And against the Cowboys offense, now the Cowboys, to their credit, Dak Prescott has been having himself an excellent season thus far. But our defense has been lights out. We shut down the Detroit Lions, who looked like a threat. We held their running game. We held Jamar Gibbs to under 40 yards on the ground. Think about that for a second. Jamar Gibbs, who's one of the threats on Detroit Lions offense, in week 11, he only had under 40 yards rushing. And that's a huge, I'm right there. And if you want to take notes for this matchup, how to prepare for the Cowboys, take note from the Denver Broncos game. Because the Denver Broncos have been one of the best defenses. You look at this. He only had 188 yards, 51.5 QB rating, and 2 interceptions against the Denver Broncos. You see, in that one, their defense stepped up. And we could take note from the Denver Broncos defense on how to get to Dak Prescott, how to force pressure and make plays. If we can just take this momentum we've been building these past couple weeks, that's how you stop Dak Prescott right there. Trust me. So even while he's had his excellent games against teams like the Jets, he had a good performance against the Giants, had himself an excellent performance against the Raiders, the miserable Raiders, on Monday night. And this go around, Dak Prescott stepping up in competition going against that Denver Broncos defense. And also there was that, speaking of good performances, you did see 3 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers. He had a nice statistical performance, but he hasn't quite played against a defense the caliber of Vic Fangio's Eagles defense that's been on a tear and been carrying this team with a purpose since the bye week. What's going to happen when Dak Prescott, he doesn't have the privilege of going against a team whose only threat is Max Crosby. In this case, you don't sound like, we got to worry about Max Crosby and that's about it. Nah, you have to worry about Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Phillips, Jalix Hunt, Zach Bond. You got a lot of Jihad Campbell. That's going to be a different story for Dak. I don't know, because this Cowboys offense going to be ready? It's going to be a lot easier said than done, even with CeeDee Lamb, even with George Pickens, who have been good weapons for Dak thus far, who have been good weapons, but they haven't gone against the caliber of this Eagles defense yet. And while they do have a solid running back in Javonte Williams, and to be fair, we can't underestimate him because Javonte Williams did have a pretty good game week 1. CeeDee Lamb had an excellent first half, which was undone by some drops in the second half. So we're not underestimating this Cowboys offense by any stretch of the imagination. We're ready for them. We know they're coming to battle, and they're coming to bring it. But so are we. We're also coming here ready to battle. We're coming here looking to take care of business and defeat the Dallas Cowboys and advance to 9-2 and keep our stronghold on the NFC East. And guess what? At the end of the day, yes, I know that we all know there's going to be this saying of the Dallas Cowboys match up well against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys have your number head to head. But ultimately, sometimes they do, it's one of those things. Well, thing is, usually division rivals usually play well when you pair up against them. Look at the Browns and Ravens from week 11. The Ravens, even with their struggles, are the far superior team. But it's going to be a little bit tougher going against division rivals because division rivals have the benefit of scouting you. They have the benefit of playing against you the most. And that's usually how division rivalry games end up being competitive and close. That's particularly why the Dallas Cowboys have matched up well against the Eagles, because you play against them twice a year. That gives the Dallas Cowboys players and coaches plenty of time to scout the Eagles, plenty of in-game experience to scout them. They've played against Jalen Hurts twice a year. They've played against Saquon Barkley twice a year since Saquon debuted back in 2018, because he was with the New York Giants up until last season. So the Cowboys had the benefit of going against Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts their whole careers, going against Devontae Smith his whole career, going against Dallas Goedert since 2018 when he started. That's one of the benefits that division you have when playing division rival. That's why sometimes, even if one team's the far superior team, a division rival can match up well against you. See the Dolphins and Patriots during the Tom Brady era. Perfect example. We know New England Patriots were the far better team during that era. Always winning Super Bowls, consistently winning the AFC East, constantly reaching the conference championship game. But the Miami Dolphins, on the other hand, were usually mediocre at best. Had 2 playoff berths in the Brady-Belichick era? 2 or 3? Something along those lines. But for some reason, when the two teams matched up head-to-head, particularly in the warm in Florida, the Miami Dolphins seemed to have their number, and they knew how to beat the New England Patriots. But that's part of what happens with when teams play each other multiple times a year. The Dolphins had plenty of experience going against Brady and Belichick. They got firsthand experience seeing Brady's strengths and weaknesses, and that makes it easier for a team to prepare to go head-to-head with them. And that's what we see with the Eagles and Cowboys. The Cowboys know our defense. Dak Prescott's played against this Eagles defense his whole career, twice a season. He's had plenty of practice going against said Philadelphia Eagles defense. That's why usually they match up well against us. So even though we are the far better team, don't be surprised if the Dallas Cowboys make it a little bit tighter and closer than expected. But ultimately, we still got to wait for the game to be played. Even though we are the far better team, we should be able to win this game. Based off the way we've been playing on defense the past couple weeks, we should be able to win. The Dallas Cowboys defense should be an easier matchup for us, even with Kevin Patullo's terrible play calling. The Eagles should at least find a way to make more of it. They should be able to exploit the Cowboys' weaknesses. Jalen Hurts should have himself a pretty good game against the Cowboys. However, all these are shoulds. It's all just shoulds and it's all just talk. We still got to wait for the teams to step on the field to actually see what's going to happen. So we still got to ultimately wait to find out for sure what's going to happen when the two teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, step on the field on Sunday at AT&T Stadium. And this is the game we all love to talk about. It's always the two games the Philadelphia Eagles fans look forward to the most on the schedule every year, no matter what our record was the previous year, no matter the expectations going into the season, is the Dallas Cowboys games. Both the one at home and the one on the road. We know there's a lot of history between them. We played them since 1960, every single season. We've had numerous playoff clashes against them. We've seen Cowboys fans still love to talk about how many Super Bowls they've won historically. Eagles fans and Cowboys fans going back and forth on social media, but I don't want to get into all that. Let's forget about it. Let's actually talk about the game itself, not that. Because we got to start talking about a little bit more about the game. So now we're going to segue into something different. There's going to be something different. We talked to kind of hinted, brushed up on it a little bit. One of the main matchups in this one, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles defensive backs going against the Cowboys star receivers with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. That's going to be the key matchups right there. You got Quinyon Mitchell. Now, Quinyon Mitchell has been excellent. He was excellent last year. He's continued that this season. We made the jokes about Guantanamo Bay, about Quinyon Mitchell locking you up. And in this one, you're going to see Quinyon Mitchell will go head-to-head against him. Probably going to be going against CeeDee Lamb. Should match up Mitchell man-to-man because we've seen the past couple weeks, these Philadelphia Eagles secondary players, these defensive backs, match up best man-to-man against receivers. So if you put Quinyon Mitchell man-to-man against CeeDee Lamb, that's the best matchup. Not 5 yards out, 5 yards back. Nah, that ain't going to work. We saw how CeeDee Lamb kept getting open week 1, particularly in the first half when he was actually able to catch the ball. It worked out in their favor. But then I guess the second half, we got a few lucky breaks in that 4-point game. CeeDee Lamb had a few drops. Guess he must have left his hands in the locker room during the weather delay. That would explain the sudden transition from elite catching to him transforming into Nelson Aguilar or Jalen Reagor in the fourth quarter. But the point is, though, on a serious note, CeeDee Lamb, as long as he catches the ball, he's a threat. And we got to do a better job covering him the second go because you might not get so lucky. You might not have the privilege of seeing Mr. CeeDee Lamb drop all those passes like he did the first go around because he had a few crucial drops, including a 4th down conversion late in the game that helped the Eagles seal the 4-point win week 1. But you can't count on CeeDee Lamb to make those same drops that he did week 1. Might not get so lucky this time. So it's important that we actually do a better job covering CeeDee Lamb. We can't, because ultimately from the Eagles standpoint, we did not get a favorable outcome in terms of covering CeeDee Lamb. So we have to do a better job there. That's one of those key matchups. It's much more important we have to do better. And then you got the other matchup. You got to go Jalen Carter going against Tyler Booker, who's been the rookie offensive lineman for the Cowboys. Booker, he's been decent, but Tyler Booker is yet to go up against someone the caliber of Jalen Carter. Let's see if this man can handle the pressure going against Jalen Carter. I got Jalen Carter in that matchup there because, look, Jalen Carter's in his 3rd season. He's consistently played. He's gotten better last year, carried that over to this year. I definitely think that's a favorable matchup there for Jalen Carter. Going against Tyler Booker right there to shut it. And now that ties into another big matchup. It's Jalen Carter can beat Tyler Booker. That helps the Eagles D-line defeat Dak Prescott. So that's what also you got the other thing, the Cowboys. You don't just got to worry about whether Tyler Booker, your rookie, can handle the pressure of going against Jalen Carter. You also got to worry about those Eagles edges. Because that's going to be a particularly tough matchup for them. And that's good because you want to come from the edges because the Cowboys love to use those play action plays. You definitely want to beat them out with your edges, get a little speed in that matchup, get to Dak Prescott as quick as possible, and be able to stop them. I mean, that's going to be good. But you got the right play. but you got the right pieces right here. You got in this one, you got the right players. You got guys like, you got Jalen Phillips, who's an excellent pass rusher. He's been phenomenal for us recently. So I think right there, you got Jalen Phillips. That's the perfect guy to bring the heat on Dak. Get some pressure on them, force the Cowboys to make mistakes, and utilize it to your advantage. That's a phenomenal matchup right there. So you give me Jalen Phillips to get the pressure on Dak Prescott as your edge guy to bring the heat. So I'm all in favor of that. So let's just keep that. So let's keep that thing going. So we're on the defensive side. I do like these matchups. They should favor us. The main ones being Jalen Phillips going against the Cowboys, Jalen Carter going against Tyler Booker. I'm perfectly in favor of it. I'm in favor of this matchup. So give me that. So give me the Eagles to take care of that one. But now, the interesting thing comes on the offensive side of the ball. That's been the big question mark in recent weeks. Now, the question is, can the Eagles, here's the question, can the Eagles offensive line can the Eagles offense turn the ship around after two poor performances in weeks 10 and week 11? Can week 12 be the week the Philadelphia Eagles turn the ship around with their offense? Can they? Because the last 2 weeks, we've seen some struggles going on there. You got to hope that this time, this go around ends up being a different story. Because Saquon Barkley this season has had himself, and he's had a few solid games, but he hasn't been an elite running back like we're used to seeing. And we got to hope that Saquon Barkley can have a bit of a turnaround here, because this season hasn't been great. It might be a little bit similar to week 1 where Jalen Hurts has to make some plays with his feet, but we've seen also recently the Eagles have gone away from kind of gone away from the RPOs. They tried to rely on Jalen Hurts being more of a pocket passer quarterback, but that's where it's gone wrong with Kevin Patullo as the signal caller. We're trying to rely on Jalen Hurts being a shotgun passer. That's not who Jalen Hurts is as a quarterback. That's the problem with Kevin Patullo. He's trying to make Jalen Hurts a pocket quarterback when that's not who he is. And that's a crime by Patullo in a figurative sense to do so. You know Jalen Hurts is not a pocket passing quarterback. You've been with this organization the entire time since Sirianni's been here. This man should know from his experience working with the Eagles. Hey, Jalen Hurts is not a pocket passing quarterback. Stop trying to make him one. That's not who he is. Jalen Hurts is a dual threat quarterback. RPOs are where he excels the most. And the Eagles have gone completely away from that. Completely away from the RPOs that worked out well. That would be a great opportunity to get back into it against the Cowboys, because we saw in week 1, Jalen Hurts was making some plays running with his feet, particularly in the first half when we scored our points. That helped us out big time on offense. Now, we should do the same thing this go around, try to get a more favorable outcome than we've had the past couple weeks. Because who was the lead rusher week 1? It was Jalen Hurts. They were still trying to do some of the RPOs, and it worked out in our favor. So you got to do that again in this matchup. Jalen Hurts going against the Cowboys defense. That's one of their weak points, as well as covering. But I feel like in this one, it'll work better in our favor because you got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got those guys. When you've seen those guys, when we go against teams such as the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Giants or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who despite their 6-4 record are mostly getting have that record, the 6 wins off the back of offense, not necessarily on the backs of their defense. Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't had the greatest defense in the world. They have some talented players on there like Vita Vea and Winfield Jr., but they're not necessarily the best defense in the world. And the Eagles offense had themselves a field day against them. Now, come back here against the Cowboys, who have consistently struggled on the defensive side of the ball all season. This is a golden opportunity. I emphasize again, a golden opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles defense to have themselves, no, not their defense, their offense, to have themselves a good game against that defense. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith should be able to shine, all things considering. So I see this offense going out there having themselves an excellent performance, particularly in the air game, mainly with Jalen Hurts using his feet. Now, Saquon Barkley, maybe Saquon surprises us, has himself a decent game, maybe gets 18 to 21 carries, and eventually he's able to just break off a few nice runs in those carries and help us out a bit. But I mostly see this being the passing game to move the ball on offense, even with the flawed play calling against this Cowboys struggling defense. My biggest thing is the defense has been great, so we should be able to, all intents and purposes, win this game. Make everyone forget about the previous 2 weeks. Have people fooled into thinking that Kevin Patullo should keep his job after we going into week 13. That's kind of what I see happening here. But at the same time, I'm also fully aware that, hey, it's football. Anything can happen. You never know. Maybe the Eagles defense starts to get a little burnt out from carrying the team the past couple weeks, and they have a dreadful performance. Maybe that's what's going to end up happening. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But I'm putting it out there because it is a realistic possibility. You never know. It's possible that Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's possible that maybe the defense gets a little flat because that offense hasn't been playing great. Defense has been carrying the load the last couple of weeks. Maybe they get burnt out going against one of the better offenses. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but you never know, it could. So I could see this matchup going either one of two ways. It depends on, if the defense continues what they've been doing the past couple of weeks, we could see the Eagles' first 20-plus point game since the bye week. Since the game against the Giants in week 9. Or week 8. I could see that happening. But then I could also see the defense coming to this game a little fatigued from the last 2 matchups, and I could see the Cowboys having a good matchup. This could be a high-scoring game. Now, that's going to ultimately tie into my predictions. For my predictions, can you just kind of piggyback? You've seen my lay 2 different examples. I could see this either going one of 2 ways. Either the Eagles win this game by a score of somewhere around 27-15, or possibly see this being a high-scoring game and continuing the trend of the Eagles and Cowboys splitting, where the Cowboys win this game by a score of 30-27, possibly off a Brandon Aubrey field goal in overtime from long distance, or at the end of regulation. This could go either one of 2 ways potentially. It ultimately depends to me on, can the Philadelphia Eagles defense keep momentum up? Because the Eagles offense, they should be able to score more points against the Dallas Cowboys. They should. Yes, I know we struggle on offense the past couple weeks, but to be fair, those were also in situations where we were going against a team that we run against teams like the Packers and the Lions, and with Kevin Patullo as signal caller, doesn't help much. But this time around against the Cowboys secondary, we should be able to find ways to score points. I mean, after all, the Denver Broncos, who aren't exactly the greatest offense in the world, had a field day against them. Russell Wilson from the New York Giants had the best game of the season against them. He had people fooled for a week into thinking he could still go as the Giants signal caller headed into week 3. So we've seen those teams teams like the Broncos and the Giants with Russell Wilson, teams that weren't exactly known for being high-powered offenses this season, have themselves excellent games against the Cowboys defense. So if they can do it, why can't the Eagles? Why not? Philadelphia Eagles should be able to have themselves a good game on offense, even with the struggles of Kevin Patullo as the signal caller. I mean, for God's sake, Russell Wilson nearly 500 yards against this Cowboys defense. Bo Nix had a phenomenal game, his game of the season thus far, against the Dallas Cowboys defense. You even had Jacoby Brissett in the Arizona Cardinals looked like a solid offensive unit against the Dallas Cowboys defense on Monday Night Football. So based off what we've seen right here, I don't see why the Philadelphia Eagles would do anything different. I don't see why it would be any different this go around. We should ultimately be able to take care of business and once again come forward with the victory. Our offense should be better this week. But like I said, those are my predictions. I'm saying that the offense comes out and has himself its best game in a while. But ultimately, it's going to come down to whether or not the defense can continue that momentum against the Dallas Cowboys. That's what it's going to boil down to for me. So that's going to be, so pretty much my keys to victory are to attack the Cowboys' weak points on defense, get back more into the RPOs. We saw that worked well week one, particularly with Jalen Hurts making plays with his feet. Try to repeat that going into this matchup. Use it to our favor. Second key to victory, defense has to be able to show up again and continue to ball out. Don't let Dak's momentum from Monday night carry over into week 12. The final key to victory, well, Jalen Carter needs the key to keep his behind on the field. No, I'm kind of playing, but on a serious note, yeah, we do need him on the field. The final key to victory is don't make any stupid turnovers. Seriously, just straightforward. Don't do anything stupid or costly that could cost you a possession, that could cause you to turn the ball over. And the Philadelphia Eagles should be able to win this game. I mean, either way, now when it comes to the NFC East, I'm still confident the Eagles are going to win that division, especially this year, because even if the Eagles do maybe late in the season, because I'm looking at the schedule, we do have a few games on that schedule that could be trap games. Even though we're the better team this season than the Dallas Cowboys, that could potentially be a trap game. You know, we usually split with them. So this is a potential trap game here. The Chicago Bears on Friday after Thanksgiving, Black Friday at 3 p.m. That's going to be a tougher game. You got the Chargers on Monday night. The Monday night showdown against the Chargers, that could be a tougher one. Then you got the Raiders on the 14th at home. The Commanders before Christmas. In between Christmas and New Year, you got the Buffalo Bills, 425. Buffalo Bills as of lately been kind of struggling. I don't know. That could be an interesting matchup with the Buffalo Bills because they've been struggling a lot as of lately. I mean, they lost last night to the Houston Texans. Josh Allen had 2 picks, which I don't know, man. I don't know. And then you got the Commanders to close out the season. So 2 of the last 3 are against the Commanders. Those should be wins. And if we do get wins, you're possibly talking about home field advantage. And with the way the NFC's been looking, where you got a team like the Rams and the way they played phenomenal this season, home field advantage could very well still be on the line entering New Year. So that January 4th closer week 18 against the Commanders at home, we could very well be playing our starters with home field advantage on the line. Because usually, you know how the script works. They usually never let home field advantage be decided going into the final week 9 times out of 10. There's usually always home field advantage or playoff seeds on the line. So don't be surprised if home field advantage comes down to the Eagles and Rams week 18. And based off the way the Eagles have played recently, despite winning games, don't be surprised if they drop a few late. Now, even with that being said, it should be good enough to win the NFC East. We should at least be able to win at least 2 more games, maybe get up to, at least to 10 wins minimum. And that should still be enough to close out and win the NFC East. So I'm still confident we're going to have a home playoff game. But I feel like it's important that we get a win against the Cowboys for momentum's sake. Get us up to 9 wins. Keep bridging the gap between the Cowboys and us. Because right now, they're the closest thing to a threat in the NFC East. And even then, they're not a good team all around. They're an under 500 team. So if we just beat the Cowboys, sweep for the season, get to 9 wins, they stay at 4 wins, that should help bridge the gap. Even if we only finish the season with 10 wins, say, and we go on a similar trend to 2 years ago, which I'm not saying it will, but even if it were to happen, that should still be enough to win the NFC East. Because it's not like 2 years ago where when we collapsed, the Dallas Cowboys still the good enough team to win regular season games. And ultimately, they won the NFC East and got the number 2 seed and fooled everyone into thinking they might have a shot in the playoffs. I know that's not going to happen here. So the Eagles should be the first repeat division winners since the 2003 and 2004 Eagles, which has been over a decade, a little over 2 decades, actually. That's insane. It's the one division where we've had a division winner, different division winner every season. It's the longest active streak going in the NFL for different division winners. Most of the other divisions you see, like the AFC East has been Buffalo. Before that, New England, Miami, New England. You see the AFC North, that's Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati. But usually there's been the consistency. Either Pittsburgh a couple straight years or Baltimore a couple straight years. You've seen the AFC West, Kansas City. AFC South's been one of those few divisions that has fluctuated in recent years. It was Houston, Jacksonville. Before that, Tennessee. But you've seen as even that stretch a few straight division winners. You look at the NFC North, been Detroit Lions. Before that, it was Vikings, Packers. And you look at NFC West, NFC West has been another one of those divisions that's altered between Rams, 49ers, Rams. But even then, you still had multiple seasons with consecutive division winners. NFC South and Tampa Bay. Before that, New Orleans. So ultimately, all the other divisions have consistently had a consecutive winner, except the NFC East. The NFC East has been the one division that's always had a different division winner each season for a little over 2 decades now. I feel like this year, regardless of how that schedule on the screen plays out the rest of the way, should be the first time in a little over 2 decades that we have consecutive division winner in the NFC East. And that should be my team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Because right now, we're staying at 8-2, Cowboys 4-5-1. Eagles with that schedule, they should at least find ways to win at least 1 or 2 of those games, which should be enough to win the division, possibly more even. Maybe the Eagles don't necessarily, maybe they end up winning 3 of those final games. They end up getting up to 11 wins on the season. That's still enough to win the NFC East regardless. But at the same time, now that I start talking about it, I'm wondering, are the Eagles going to go on a little skid again? Especially being if they have a strong division lead. Could that happen again? Somewhat similar to 2 years ago, especially since the NFC East is a weaker division and there's no true threat right behind us to take the division at the end. Could the Eagles get a little cocky late in the season? I would hope not, because you're still potentially playing for a home field advantage. Your biggest threat there is the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles should not just take it easy, because if we win out, we win enough games to tie the Rams for home field advantage. Guess who that goes to? That goes to us because we beat the Rams week 3. So a tiebreaker with the same record gives us home field advantage if it comes down to that between us and the Los Angeles Rams. That's the big question right there. But ultimately, man, first, we got to get through week 12 in the Dallas Cowboys. We just got to win this game right here. Because right now, you take a look at the NFC East. Look, this should be an E. Give me 1 second. Oh, come on. All right, here we go. I'm going to share it with you guys. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So right at the top, NFC East. 4-game difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. Then you got the Commanders, 3rd place at 3 wins. Giants, dead last at 2, contending for the Tank Bowl. I don't see things getting better for the Commanders and the Giants. Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a look at the Week 12 schedule, see what the Giants... Well, the Giants got it's right there. Giants, Detroit Lions. That should be an easy win for the Detroit Lions. So that would be another loss for the Giants. And then the Commanders. Are they on a bye this? I think the Commanders are on a bye. So, yeah, the Commanders are on a bye. Let me just double check one more. Yeah, the Washington Commanders are on a bye. So they're not even playing. They're staying stuck at 3 wins no matter what. So either way, we should be in good standing. If we just beat the Cowboys, we're staying in first place. And then what are the Commanders? They come back and have to play the Broncos Sunday night after Thanksgiving. And then the Giants got to play the Patriots on Monday night after Thanksgiving. Oh, that should be big L's right there for both those squads. So I don't see the Giants and the Commanders doing anything to catch up soon. Giants, you got the Broncos and then the Patriots. That should be 2 straight losses, dropping the 2-11. Should be, but we got to wait and see. But ultimately, the point of what I'm getting at is the reason I showed the Week 12 schedule and I showed the NFC East stand is to prove a point that we should ultimately win the division. If we just beat the Cowboys, that could unofficially seal it for us. You see those standings right there. A win based on the standings can unofficially seal the NFC East for us against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 12. So that's what's potentially on the line for the Philadelphia Eagles going into AT&T Stadium on Sunday. So with that being said, guys, not really much else I want to say. Really want to thank those of you that came in to watch. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this Eagles stream, talk about some of the keys to victory, giving you the preview. I'll be back to talk about it possibly Monday, maybe Tuesday, but ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see how that goes down, guys. So, with that being said, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Just hope the Eagles get this dub, keep that momentum going. Hopefully, the offense actually plays up to standard. I'm confident in them. I hope they actually do something. So, with that being said, man, leave it at that. Say it's fly, Eagles, fly. Whether we win, lose, or tie, I'm always going to be repping the birds. Your boy will keep coming on YouTube talking about it, dropping some of those YouTube shorts. I'll be on my channel, going live pre and post game, talk a little bit about the Sixers as well. And every Tuesday, you can catch me at noon for the 3-point blitz. This upcoming week, we got episode 36 pre-Thanksgiving to help get us ready. We talk about the Week 12 recap, which will include some talk about the Eagles and Cowboys, but we'll also have a separate stream dedicated to it, specifically from the fan standpoint. So you guys know I'll still be on here. I'll be active dropping content. So with that being said, that's all I got for live streams. I might do a few YouTube shorts where I don't use my voice and don't show my face. Where I'll show some graphics, maybe a few text words, if something interesting develops that I want to share. Either about football or possibly NBA related. So that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. It's your boy, Nicky Stees, signing off. Fly, Eagles, fly. Until next time,